ready to rock.
Yeah.
Nicole Owens, it's nice to be here in Croke Park. You've many fond memories here.
Yeah, no, I do. It's nice to be back. We unfortunately didn't make it back for the culmination of this year, so nice to get here again.
It is definitely, and for the Beko Club Champion club is where it starts for everyone. For you, what is your earliest memories? I know you started out with the boys teams.
Yeah, so my earliest memories would be playing with the boys in Sills, being down at the nursery, 100 boys and me. That would definitely be high up there. But I think then when it comes to probably beyond that, when I actually started getting really into it, was probably under kind of 14. I actually guessed it to Nairn, which is my rival club near us in Kilmarnock, near Sills, but we didn't have a team, and kind of seeing there, being able to play there, and some of the, particularly the underage volunteers there, the impact that they had on my game and things like that. You really appreciate, even if it's your club, but it's also the whole kind of club ecosystem in Ireland.
And is there one trainer or coach that you always remember that really had an influence on you?
Yeah, and it's from Nairn, unfortunately. I've been very lucky with great coaches the whole way up, but Willie Fallon, who was the underage, under 14 manager, I think, in Nairn, he used to make me only use my left foot in training. Brilliant. And just get used to doing that, and the difference that's made to me, and my confidence then as a player, and my ability to, a lot harder to mark, I would say, as a result of it, because I'm not as one-footed as maybe there would a tendency to be. So that I always remember that, because I remember at the time I was like, really, just stop. But now it's
Was that when you were playing with the boys team?
No, that would have been kind of I was guessing with Nairn under 14, I think, the girls team, because Sylvester's didn't have a girls team at that age.
Yeah.
Which is gas now looking back, because we've got multiple teams underage.
It's mad to see the growth, but that's so good to hear that he was coaching girls at that age in that way, because we were talking about this the other day, just how we don't really take frees off the ground as much. You don't really see it in the games, but you see it in the men's game, and I suppose you want to be trained just like young lads are growing up.
Yeah, I think it's the skills level, I think, for a long while, and it was through no one's kind of ill intent. It was just a case of what you had, particularly on the ladies' side, was people, it was parents stepping in who might have played a bit of ball when they were younger, but that was it. So didn't have the maybe fundamental skills and the focus on those. Whereas that would have been a bit more ingrained at an earlier stage in the lads, and I think what you're really seeing now is that coming through at a grassroots level, an underage level, with the women, and you're seeing that that's starting then to pay dividends. We're seeing people kicking unbelievable scores. We're seeing a lot less punting. People are using their instep, and that was a big thing that still you still see people, girls who don't maybe to me a lot of it comes down to just playing on the street. I want to play football on the street, get soccer, and just opening your hip up. For some reason, it doesn't come as naturally. I think you're starting to see that being drilled in, and that changes your whole ability, the ability how you can make passes and the way you play football, because you're not so narrow-minded one direction.
And even when you think of growing up and that you didn't have a team, that you had to train with boys, which I'm sure was a great thing for your development. But to see the change now that there's multiple teams and every club has a girls' team, it's crazy to think that in such a short period of time, that was the way that it was, but now we obviously can see the growth in the game.
Yeah, Sills have a whole girls' nursery. And I was out before, and there's 100 little girls running around. Brilliant. It's insane. And I think for me, I understand there's two kind of sides of the ladies' side and the men's side. But I'd love to see that continue to be integrated to a later stage, because I think, as you said, I benefited a lot from playing with the boys, from a physicality perspective, but also from a skills perspective. And I think it's benefits for both sides to play together to an older age, when obviously then the physicality element does kick in. But I think there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you've been so successful going on to play with Dublin. How do you assess this year then, going back in with the setup? And obviously look at it didn't go your way in the end, the quarter-final loss to Galway, but overall, how would you assess the year?
Yeah, I think a tough year. I think so. I did my ACL at the end of the year before last, and then kind of wrote off last year to rehab that, because of my second one, I rolled out to a third. And this year coming back in, my focus was very much to kind of get back up to speed. I think I struggled. The knee and rehab was fine, but I think when you have a year off, the rest of the body, getting the rest of the body up to speed is tough. And I think that I found quite tough. I kind of didn't get back on the pitch till much later in the year than I intended, and all sorts of Achilles issues. So then I think for me, kind of coming towards the end of the year, was very much about, can I get back up to that level? And I think I never doubted myself from a ability to rehab and get back, playing perspective, but probably kind of when I was back on the pitch, but wasn't up to like my usual level of fitness, and you know the first touch wasn't as good, and the kind of instinct weren't as good. There, I think I found it quite tough in terms of, you know, what is kind of my role in this team. Can I get back up to the level? I think that was like probably the only time I've had doubts about kind of my ability. Was like, actually, you know, has the ship sailed here? So I think for me, obviously we lost in the quarter final, which is, you know, incredibly frustrating and devastating based on all the work that's gone in this year. But I think for me, feeling like I had got back up to that level and that I still had it in me, I think that was really gratifying. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So by the end of the season, you felt like you were coming back to your best?
Yeah, I think so. And look, I could have done with a few more matches now.
Yeah.
But I think, it's a case where it's amazing how it's you know, it really stabs you in the back. Football you've been playing for however many years. I've been playing 27 years or something. I think like it goes quite fast, and I think it was just nice to see like that come back and be starting to play the way now I can and get on the ball, feel confident on the ball, and dictate play. That was really frustrating when it wasn't going that way. So I think like just having that, at least kind of having finished the year with that, and then going into next year having that as a foundation to go on.
Exactly, because there's so many uncontrollables in sport, and obviously one is injuries, and then how you deal with them, and mentally, physically, all of those things can take a toll. Is that something that over time you've been able to, I suppose, work on the mental side of things, that when things don't go your way, it is frustrating, but there's different ways of looking at it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've been fortunate injury-wise the last few years, but I know like 2021, I ended up kind of walking away from the team in the middle of the summer, to be honest, because it had taken such a mental toll, the injuries, and it was going beyond football. It was, you know, going into my regular life. Like I'd be, after a day training, something would be a bit tight, and I wouldn't come across the road because I'd be so afraid that I'd, you know, tweak something, and it got to a stage where it was all consuming, and that's not the point of sport. It's not why anyone was playing. So I think stepping away was a good decision that year. I worked with Redzer and then Kelly, who used to play. He played with Dublin, won All Ireland with Dublin. Came in initially with us as a forwards coach, and then turned into the team psychologist. And would have done a lot of work with her. Like she was instrumental just in terms of like dealing with that anxiety, and I think that was the big thing this year. Even dealing with injuries, I didn't get to the place I had been previously in terms of it being all consuming. Like, don't get me wrong, it was frustrating. But not all consuming, and I think a lot of the work done there was more around the mental resilience. I think like physically, like I know I can work really hard, I know I can go through insane rehab, you know, I can get my body there physically, and it's just about mentally believing that.
Is that a mindset shift almost?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of just, we're very, I think like, especially like footballers, probably a lot of people are very like instant gratification, that like if I can't train right now it's the end of the world. So I think it's just, and look, as I get older, I think some of it's around load management, appreciating that like, you know, what's in the legs might be the same as it was when I was 19, 20, so it's like actually just focusing on what's important, and it becomes more about like what is the end goal of the session, like what is the focus here, rather than just, you know, showing that I can win the 1K. That's probably a big thing. It's tough for my ego, but like I think at some stage you have to let it go. Yeah.
And being back in amongst the setup with the girls and the whole lot, I'm sure that was nice after having the break.
Yeah, it was great. I think it's one of the things you miss, the structure and like the kind of the hard work you do miss, definitely to a huge extent, but actually it's the, you know, going to the gym, doing rehab and not having a group around you is tough. It is really tough, and you only appreciate that when you're doing it compared to when you're doing the elements of it and you're in with the team and you have all, like you have the banter, you're seeing everyone like day in, day out, and it's, especially this year, like we've had a lot of, well, everyone's young now compared to me, but last year like some of the like young ones like that hadn't been in previously really stepped up, and like just going back in and seeing like their, I would say like their confidence was brilliant, and just like being really feeling like really like accepted by them, and getting to like, you know, build off a lot of their like enthusiasm and things like that. That was great, and like that was brilliant to be back involved in, and that's the bit that, going back to like why you play football is to enjoy it. I've always played team sports because I love being part of a team, and I think like that element of it was so crucial, and the team itself grew a lot throughout this year, and I think seeing that in individuals on the team as a whole is like really, really gratifying.
So it looked positive for years to come, because there was a lot of young players that are coming through on that Dublin team.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think you have people step up, particularly like the little Neve, Steve Crowley, and Neve Donlan. I think like just seeing like step in and play cornerback is, I think if you'd asked me a position I'd least like to play on the pitch, it would be cornerback. I think like stepping up and, you know, marking players that are at the height of their abilities is brilliant. Seeing Neve Crowley come forward and score goals, like that's the way we're at. Like I think the way the game's gone, like we expect backs to be able to come up and kick scores of them did that, and that's kind of like the next phase is like how do we kind of keep that tradition so it becomes like interchangeable. Like, you know, if we need to negate a blanket defence, then it's fine because we got like Crowley coming over and kicking, you know, from the right wing.
Yeah, you definitely need all of that in your game. And to see Kerry then go on and win it, they won their first time since 1993, so obviously a massive moment. And I suppose as anyone that has loved football, seeing the likes of Louise New they get her All Ireland as well.
Yeah, I think to be honest, it's like you'd obviously, it's always going to be a bit bittersweet. You'd rather, you know,
it was
you. But I think no, from my perspective, I think watching like I know Louise like really tough a few years with injuries as well. Hasn't like they've been so close. Obviously, the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I've known a few of them like Anna Gavin, like what goes into it, and knowing, I think we kind of forget that like it's almost the teams that win it, they get the kind of outcome and they get the reward, and there's like many teams every year that go through that and come so close, in the case of Kerry and don't. So I was delighted for Louise, I was delighted for them as like a footballing county. I think that like even I saw some of the homecoming scenes and that, it's just great to see the whole like county get behind them. And also I think from a football perspective, it only benefits the game when you've got many teams now elevating the level, and it's not, you know, the likes of your Cork or even Leeds now, like there was multiple teams like Kerry and Galway were in that final, and Kerry have been there the last few years.
It opens it right up. And in terms of like the attendance, obviously we saw that was way down. Do you think it is not something to worry about, but wonder why that's happening when we've seen such growth in the attendance over the years?
Yeah, I think there's always, I think you see with the lads as well, there is always a Dublin bounce. I think it's something it is a perspective of it as well. Not that we're taking credit for all the attendance,
but it's true.
It is a factor. Then I think it comes down to like, look, I think as well, probably this summer there's so much sport. It's an insane amount of sport. Like there's shot with the Olympics there. I think you had like the Euros going on. You had like Formula 1 going on. I think there's like a lot of other things going on, and I think it's becoming more and more competitive to like stand out there. I think from the LGFA perspective, I think there's a better job of promoting the games and promoting. For me, it's very much about the constructive growth of the game, so it's the analysis that is critical when it needs to be. And like I think I haven't watched our match against Galway back, but I would have liked to see that more critically analysed in terms of like Dublin weren't good enough in the day than internal. I think that's something that you kind of see more so in the lads.
You want that from pundits, like? Okay.
I think we're kind of in a stage where a lot of the time with the LGBA, it's like, oh, isn't it great? Isn't it like this great? The ladies, like, look at them playing football. And I think we're so far beyond that. From a large extent, that now it's really about like honing in and highlighting the level of skill that's there, and using that obviously to drive into the grassroots, and then like continue to drive those figures up, because there's like no reason we shouldn't be selling out Croke Park on All Ireland final night.
And you've obviously experienced Croke Park when it is, you know, what, 40,000 people or so. That's
54,000.
54, sorry, yeah.
Like that was,
incredible.
Yeah, and especially when a lot of them are like young girls, it's loud. You gotta hear yourself think, like, I remember one point Nick was yelling at me and I was like, I don't have a clue what you're saying. Like, you're 10 feet away, but I don't have a clue. I think that's what you want, and that's also when it's sort of at its best. And even if you're watching a game where there's a big crowd, that really, like, even
drives
on TV,
on.
like, it really drives like players on, and playing in that is where you want to be, and you want to see the game. You want to see people seeing the game live, because it's not the same as watching it on the TV. And like the more people you get there, understanding things like the movement and how it actually works in actuality is
100%. Yeah. And you mentioned the Olympics there. Are you flat out watching it?
Flat out watching the Olympics, yeah. I've like got a second screen that's non-stop now at this stage.
Oh, okay.
So it's a case of I'll be in a meeting and like the sprints will be starting over here.
Oh yeah, say no.
Yeah.
So what is your favourite event, or what have you enjoyed?
Oh God,
so far.
I did really enjoy the swimming. I watched last COVID Olympics was a bit different, but I think because we were all in lockdown at that stage, everyone was so bit into it, so I got really invested in a lot of the swimmers, and particularly like Mel McSharry, because I just thought she was so young back then. She was, I think, 19 or 20. She was so young, and she just came across as such a solid head on her shoulders, and obviously did so well getting into the final then. And I think like this year then watching her, I was like, I knew when her events were on, I was like watching the final, I was like almost emotional, because I was like, she'd obviously qualified I think third fastest, and she ended up getting the bronze. So I think it's very much this year you get to the stage where you're like, oh my God, we are actually doing a chance. And I think you get really patriotic.
12th on the medal table.
I know.
What?
And I think you're looking at it, I think we were top of the small medal table as well. I think
New Zealand
table
through.
But like, I think it's really from perspective of like, you know, obviously gas not at an international level, but seeing I don't know how many times they're on the mean and just been playing now, and that's unbelievable.
It's
like,
emotional.
On world stage. It is emotional, I think, and to see kind of what everyone goes through. So like the swimming, the hurdles is the 400 meter hurdles is my favourite event, which is on now. Like Sydney McLaughlin is insane.
Amazing.
Also, I think that's tomorrow. I think I want to say.
Yeah.
So.
And we have Rashida this evening in the semi-final.
Sorry, yeah, I haven't even, because I'm assuming she's going to flow through like she did the last one.
Oh.
So like that final of that is on, but I think, and I think that's probably a big one. Like it's so tough, I think, for someone like her who had to make the decision obviously to not do the relay, but it is an individual sport. Athletics, and I think,
got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
The Olympic medal on the line, and obviously you watched Kelly last night.
Yeah, exactly. So I think someone who we were talking about it earlier, like. Even in football, if you decide to go for another year, like it's a year, right? But if you decide to go for another Olympic cycle, that's 4 years. She obviously made the decision to stay amateur to go again, and that's such a commitment. So, and it's lovely to see all that work, play out. And we've seen so many times where it hasn't worked out across all the events. Like you get so invested in individual stories, but I think from her perspective, for like. The community, the inner city community. I saw like they had like an insane event. They were going from about like 3 o'clock yesterday. Boiling Road. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they had music and all. So I think like seeing all of that, and I think she's the first Irish athlete to defend their gold medal.
She is.
We don't have that many of them to be fair. So, but I think the first to defend her title is so special.
Oh, it's incredible, and to see the impact that it's made as well on inner city Dublin, and I suppose all the young boys and girls that are watching her. Brilliant, Nicole. Thanks so much for your time. Best of luck for the club season ahead. Thank you.